Today, we're going to talk about, should you 3D print your product? Specifically, should you print your end-use product that you are selling to a mass market? We get this question a lot. We get a lot of people sending their prototypes in and their ideas. Hey, I want to do this. I want 10,000 units or 100,000 units a month, or we're only going to produce 40 or 50 of them total. It's a really specialized niche, all across the board, medical devices we're going to make 5 a month, or these other products that we only use in-house and we need about 10 of them a year, or other things like that. There's a lot of situations to consider. So what you want to think about is mostly volume. How many of your products are you going to need over a given amount of time? Because 3D printing is great for a lot of stuff. You can save a lot of time, save a lot of money. But if you need 10 million units, it probably is going to be cheaper and faster to go with something like injection molding, even vacuum forming, depending what it is. So I've got a variety of products here today. I'm just going to talk about the viability and realism of printing these as a product and selling it as a business. So let's start off right over here on the left. This is an intake manifold for a car, for a vehicle. Now, you're probably not going to print this to sell it for a couple of reasons. Number one, getting a material that's going to work that well when bolted up against an extremely hot engine is going to be difficult. You're going to need something like Peak or Ultim. We got tons of videos on those, but it needs to be able to withstand the heat. So if you're a Formula SAE driver or maybe an F1 car, you might 3D print an intake manifold and actually use it, but the general market, you're not going to be able to get the cost to benefit ratio high enough to make it worth it. So a lot of the times you'll see this is actually polycarbonate, and this is a fitment testing part. So, we printed this and it was used for fitment, but it wasn't used on the actual car. So you're probably not going to actually print this and sell it to customers. Let's go to the next thing. What do we got here? We got this orange vase. This is actually PLA. It's a beautiful design. It's a 3D model available on Thingiverse, and it's made with, I believe, orange PLA. I think it was a red PLA that came out orange, actually. But this is actually pretty viable. It probably took 3 or 4 hours to print, and it's a beautiful part. It maybe costs $2 the most in material, and then obviously the time to print it. Time is money. But this is something, if you want 10,000 of these to sell in department stores across the nation, it's probably going to be a better product. You can make it smoother and you can make it faster for less money if you do an injection mold. But maybe you're a small time and you're going to the local, swap meets or maybe shows and things, and just selling cool things as art. Maybe you need 20 or 30 at a time to go to your next show and sell it, and then oh, this one sold really well. Let's print 40 of those next time. Then this is a great thing to print. So a product like this, good idea. You can definitely make this stuff and sell it as a business on a 3D printer. Let's go to something else, something over here. Let's talk about camera parts. Okay, I've got a couple cameras here. I've got a GoPro with a GoPro case. Now, depending how this is designed and how well it's, how well it prints and everything, you could print these cases for very cheap, a matter of a few dollars, even out of something like polycarbonate. This is Ultim 9085, so this is probably about 10 bucks in material, but it's super strong, super impact resistant. I've got that available on our site. But depending on the design and the size of your market, maybe if you're a guy and you're putting this on the forums and you think you might sell a couple hundred of them in a month or in a year, then you would totally 3D print this. It would make total sense. You print it once, post pictures, sell it to your audience, and then print them as demand increases. Now, if you're a manufacturer and you want 100,000 of these to give to every Best Buy in the nation over the next year, you might want to go with injection molding. Really, a way to look at it is an injection molding mold can cost anywhere from $10,000 and up. And then you have to do a run of like 10,000 parts or more just to make it worth their time. So the barrier to entry is like anywhere from $20,000 to $100,000 to get these injection molded. So if you don't want to start with that and you want to maybe test the market, great way to go. 3D print it, post pictures, sell it, and then make more as you need them. Another cool camera accessory is just this little finger hold. So this is a camera grip extension. It's actually specifically for the RX100, which we've got here in the shop, and it just fits like that, right over there. So you can see the original camera is just this smooth thing, and you can print this out. We smoothed it, sanded it down a little bit, and we can just use some adhesive and put it right there, and now we've got a nice grip on this camera. There's a lot of actual, other camera parts you can print, from full braces and brackets to hot shoe extensions and things of that nature, but that's another little cool thing. If you're printing these, this took like 30 minutes to print at the most, and it's probably like 10 cents in material. So if you're making a variety of camera accessories and you want to print these, you could print a batch of like 50 in a day. And if you're selling 50 a day, just keep the printer running. If you're not, then you got stock and you can replenish your stock really easily. And this would be a great part to print and sell on a 3D printer. That is actually really good. And lastly, for the camera parts, actually I got one more over there I'll break out in a minute, but this is a flex tilt head from Edelchrome. So you basically print all the body parts and they send you the hinges and the nuts and the bolts and things. And you can print this out. So if you have something like this where you're designing these flex tilt heads and you've got all metal parts in there that cost a bunch of money to have machined, and you got to wait weeks at a time to machine them, but you're not selling thousands of these a day, then you could print out all these other parts and just have the machine shop make the metal parts, and then basically speed up your production significantly and reduce the cost. Because remember, we're talking pennies for this stuff. You get this made out of aluminum stock, you're talking labor, you're talking the raw material, you're talking turnaround time that you have to wait to get your product to get it to your customers and keep them happy. I mean, there's a lot going on. So if you can, take some of the parts from your product and make those 3D printed yourself, you could significantly reduce your costs and overall time used to make a product. Now, something we've seen one of our customers do, Dan, one of my favorite customers, is he makes these. These are PSU, which is a high temperature thermoplastic that can withstand steam, gamma radiation, autoclaving, basically very high temperatures without breaking down, and it's also food safe. So this is actually a water spreader for a very high-end coffee machine. And what this customer did was they made the replacement part for a very high-end, super expensive, like $10,000 coffee machine, and they took the part that always broke and it was always getting replaced and didn't even work as well as it could have, redesigned it, made it a little bit better, and started printing these. He prints these in batches of like 10 to 15 at a time over the course of a few hours, gets out 40 or 50 a day, and they're selling them like hotcakes. So that's a very specialized niche, high-end coffee, and making one special part that there's a need for, and his part's a little bit better than the original part, so he sells these replacements like crazy, and there's an entire business based around this. And then there's other coffee parts and other things he makes, but he's constantly producing. He's got several machines from us now, and they're just making it happen. So that's a really cool one. This is actually a cool difference. If you look at the transparency, this one was printed at 270 Celsius, this one was printed at 280 Celsius. So as you get good at printing, you can make your products more translucent or do different things to them and really customize your process and make the product the way you want to. So we've got the handle that goes in the car when you open the doors. It just opens like that, right? Now, if you're working on vintage cars, or maybe you're in a car shop and you have to work on a bunch of custom deals, then yeah, you're definitely going to want to 3D print this or make your own custom version and 3D print that for special customers, or maybe it's a kit that you sell to a niche like maybe there's a Honda crowd or maybe a Jeep crowd, and there's these parts. Actually, VW buses. There's a ton of 3D printable replacement parts for the VW buses that the community has put together over the years. So if you're selling or working on VW buses and you can print spare parts, you're going to save a lot of money and probably time rather than buying those from an OEM or a third-party replacement company. Let's move right along. We've got this Klein vase, right? Very cool, beautiful. It's really a piece of art. Now this is someone else's art that we also got off Thingiverse. You can look up Klein vase and you'll probably find this one. So we couldn't sell this as is, but if I had made this and it's my art and I want to sell it, maybe I'm going around to shows or maybe I've got an Etsy shop online, then yeah, you can absolutely 3D print these art, stuff like this, stuff on lower volume. You're going to want to 3D print, and it's going to save you money and time for sure. Over here, we've got our filament rollers. So we actually made these for inside the SAM HT back before it had its own filament holder. And you can just set our metal spool right on there. Why do we have a metal spool? Well, you're drying the high temp filaments, you have to make sure that your spool doesn't melt, and so we have these available. Made our lives easier from our shop to yours, helping it out, helping the process. So these things, CF nylon, easy to print, very strong, gonna last a long time, gonna survive in the temperatures that we need them to, very good to go. Let's go to something a little bit bigger. Oh, we've got this planetary gearbox. So in here we got 3 gears, turning another gear down there for another 3 gears here on the back, basically increasing or exchanging torque for speed, right? Now, something this big, if it's a display item or if it's just for fun or if it's for a one-off project, yeah, you can totally 3D print it. As you can see, we did. This actually comes apart into multiple pieces. So you've got all this whole assembly. But if this is something truly industrial and, it needs to be big, it needs to be strong, and you only need one, 3D printing might be a good way to go. But chances are on something this big, it's going to need to be metal or something else like that. Maybe not, maybe not. You might be able to get away with plastic of some kind, but it completely depends on your application for a part like this. If it's a display part, heck yeah, 3D print it. There's a lot of big printers out there. We got the FunMat Pro and the MAM from Cincinnati. Even the Aeon has a huge build volume. And doing stuff like this for display or for examples, maybe it's a school and you're making parts to show the students so you can get some hands-on experience. 3D printer, awesome. Some sort of industrial application where this has to take 80,000 pounds of force, might want to look into other methodologies. But application specific right there, that's really what it comes down to. One more camera part we've got here is this little thing. It's another L-Chrome part that you can print the parts yourself. And you basically put the phone or whatever in there, the camera, boom, like that. And then you can set these different things and move it around. Now this really comes down to are you making a product where you can replace some parts with 3D printed parts to save time and money? Maybe. With this one, they made this line of 3D printable products, and this is just one of the things they had. But maybe you've got something where you are using metal parts or screws and bolts, but instead of having the third-party shop make it, you could make it in your garage, or you guys could make it in-house at your business and save money, or customize it, rapid prototype it, change things on it, make it really your own on the fly as much as you want. Oh, moving right along. Turbo fans. We've got a couple of these turbines here, and depending on the application, if this is pushing air, you could totally 3D print it. And these print pretty fast. If you're doing a couple hundred of them or maybe 1,000 in a month, then yeah, if you're making a ton of these, 3D printing is viable. Now, if you're doing 100 million of these, once again, I don't need to repeat that, I don't think. But this might also be for, fluids of some kind. Maybe it's acids, maybe it's oil, maybe it's water, maybe it's something else. Depending what it is, you can choose almost any material to make it happen and make it work for your application. But again, it really comes down to volume. I think that's this video is really coming down to is volume. How much are you printing? So anyway, I've gone over a lot of this stuff. Oh, actually this is cool. This is a ball bearing printed in ABS. Again, for display purpose, awesome. Probably not gonna want to put anything crazy on this. Now you might put this into like, I don't know, a toy car or something like that. But yeah, just another cool thing. Anyway, hope this gave you some ideas as to what's possible in 3D printing. What you can print, and if you've got a product or something you're looking and you're considering either for rapid prototyping or for end-use production using 3D printing, generally it's going to come down to how many parts do you need in how much time, and is there a material that will work for its application. So with that, please leave your questions and comments in the comments below. Hit the like on that button and subscribe if you haven't already. We're releasing videos every week. So hope you enjoyed this one. Have a positive day, and I'll see you on the next video.